this number.
Warning, the following show contains conservative posturing, radical Christian ideas, and may offend pagans, Wiccans, Islamic fundamentalists, and other unenlightened individuals. Callers and guests may be subjected to brash and offensive comments by the hosts and any other type of bullying tactics available. But that's okay. We know why you're here.
This concludes this test of the emergency broadcast system.
Tonight is Monday, August 18th, 2008.
What's up, one and all? Welcome to World of the Unexplained. I'm your host, Jay Scott.
And this is JD.
JD, I'm going to reach across the studio for that magnificent presentation. Chuck is going to be in just a moment. He had to step out. Trent, unfortunately, is not going to be able to join us again tonight, but we will see him next week, I'm sure. Tonight's guest, Matt Bronleewe, former member of the band Jars of Clay. If you've listened to our show for any length of time, you'll remember the first interview we had with Mr. Bronleewe back a while back on his first book, his first fiction book. I think it was his first one. Wasn't it his first one?
Yeah, I believe it was his first one. And it was
really,
called,
really good stuff.
Illuminated or Illuminati? Or?
Yeah, Illuminated.
Illuminated.
Really good stuff. I actually read the whole thing, and that says something for me to read one of my guest whole books. Usually I'll read parts of them. I'll be honest.
He likes to skim it.
Yeah, but this one I actually read the whole thing, and I loved it. And I don't have a copy of the second one yet. It might be in my P.O. box. I'm not sure, but I haven't checked it. But I'd love to get a hold of the next one. That's what we're going to talk about tonight. It's all about secret societies and conspiratorial goings on.
Oh, yeah.
So good stuff.
That's
man.
good stuff.
Good stuff. Stuff we like to talk about.
It's a shame that Trent wasn't here, Mr.
Conspiracy himself.
Yeah. That's all right. So Chuck's here tonight. He's pretty big into conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I told Trent to call in. I
Okay,
told him,
good.
told him just to give us a buzz and call on in.
We'd also like to give a big
shout
ol' happy birthday to Mr. Trent Lackey.
Yeah, his birthday was a couple days ago, so we want to give him the big woe-to shout out here. Maybe I've got some applause or something. A school bell. I don't think it's going to work. Here, search for something appropriate. There we go. There's applause. There we go. Congratulations, Trent. Happy birthday. We love you, brother. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Anyway, so, but yeah, some strange goings on this weekend. It was fun for me. I went down to the North Myrtle Beach, played around in the ocean like a small child again, swam in the swimming pool, even went and played putt-putt. And that was a lot of fun at the castle. And Broadway at the beach, there's this big castle, and you play putt-putt through it, and there's a big fire shooting out of the top of it. It's pretty crazy.
That's all right, man.
And you went swimming this week too, didn't you?
Yeah, buddy. I went swimming. Took the little man out swimming this week.
Yeah, I heard he done real well.
Yeah, he did pretty good, man. He actually dunked him underneath the water, and he did really well.
Oh, you baptizing him already? No sprinkles for little man.
That's right. Yeah, but he did really well. Actually he loves getting in the pool or taking a bath, dude.
Huh. Well, I'm sure he enjoyed that then.
Yeah, I mean, unlike other, most of the time, like, you hear about other kids, that parents try to bathe them and they have a big fit or whatever. You put him in the water and he's just, doom.
Oh, I was one of those kids that didn't like baths or anything like that.
Oh, that's what that smell is.
That would be me. But, no, it was really weird. I was one of those little kids where, my mom's like, my whole body can be covered in filth, but as long as my hands weren't dirty. Isn't that weird? That is the weirdest thing.
And your mom wasn't a nurse.
Yeah, I know. And that's just strange. I just had this hand issue.
That's usually a thing that happens with kids whose parents are like either nurses or doctors.
And I'm still that way to this day. I'll wash my hands, 4, 5, 8, 9 times a day. I don't know why. It's just really weird. I guess it's a good thing because I come in contact with so many people. I shake so many hands. And, that's a good thing that I have that habit. But, it's just, I guess it's just something that I've never lost sight of. It's, you gotta wash those hands.
Could be worse. Do you ever watch the show Monk?
Oh, yeah, where he has the
every time he
wipe.
touches somebody, wipe.
Yeah, wipe. I need my wipe. Yeah. That's crazy. Did you see that episode? There was one episode where he went to, like, Mexico and, like, all this packages of everything got stolen. And, like, he had, like, some kind of just a humongous like case of wipes or something. And they didn't
No,
have any
no, I didn't
oh
see
man,
that
he had to
one.
go the whole episode in the same clothes with no wipes, and it was just crazy. He didn't have his brand of bottled water, so he didn't drink anything because he wouldn't drink the other water.
Yeah.
And so he's like, I'm about to thirst to death. By the end of the show, man, he hadn't had any water. I mean, it's crazy.
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, it was good stuff. It was funny. I think it's from the first season.
Yeah, and you know what? I actually like some of the stuff from the first season versus some of the stuff they're doing now.
Yeah. Also, and that Psych show is pretty good too.
Yeah, that's actually really good. I actually like that a lot.
And I've been watching that since they first premiered it, and I've just had nothing but good stuff to say about it.
Yeah, I think it's funny because of the fact that he's just I don't know, what would you call
Pretending
him?
to be psychic.
I know, but I mean, as far as like gifted like he is, it's just
Kind of like Sherlock Holmes kind of thing.
Yeah,
The
kinda.
ability to, I guess, what's it called? Perception.
yeah,
He's got super
yeah,
perception.
Perception, yeah.
We should get those guys on the show. On the show, the guys from Psych. That'd
That'd be
fun.
kind of cool. It really
We
would.
might be able to snag them. I'll get the old J. Scott thing working and see if we can throw a little celebrity their way. All right, Chuck, you didn't have to laugh that loud. But, so, Chuck, welcome to World of the Unexplained, Mr. Brown.
Welcome. I can't hear myself, but hope the listeners can.
Oh, yeah, we can hear you loud and clear, man. We're going to get on the line here with Matt Bronleewe here in a second, bring him on to talk about
I'll
his
try
new
not
book.
to French it up too much because about the extent of my French accent or impersonation is and that'll only get us so far.
So what's the deal with the Russians and the Georgians right now? What's going on? I haven't.
Well, they
heard.
claim they're gonna get out. They've claimed this about a half a dozen times
Yeah,
now.
but I've also heard that their tanks aren't making any progression, like on the way out.
Well, one of the things I heard late this afternoon is that the Russians have stationed short-range missiles in the easternmost part of Georgia, I guess, so that those missiles that are now stationed within Georgia are within range of Georgia's capital.
There you go. Nothing like a good old ceasefire pullout.
Well, I've already heard that there are two provinces there that Putin will probably not abdicate. So they won't leave those two.
We're taking it back.
I don't see this being resolved anytime soon. The big development though that happened in the last 24 hours. I don't know if you heard about this, J. Scott.
I mean, I have.
Pervez Musharraf, president of Pakistan.
Yeah, resigned or stepped down. Excuse me.
Yes. So
Yeah, what's up with that?
That's
They
not
were
good
gonna-
for
they
us.
were- Well, they were going to throw him out, though, weren't they?
Well, apparently there are a number of factions within the government there that weren't going to work with the rest of the government if he remained in power.
Yeah.
He's survived several assassination attempts. He hasn't been a strong ally, I guess, in the war on terrorism, but he's about the strongest we could have ever hoped for in that country. He was, I believe, originally. I don't know I think he was born in New Delhi. Actually, I may have that wrong, but he's a Hindu.
Huh.
He's a Hindu, or I guess not to talk about him posthumously, but as the president of Pakistan, he was a Hindu leader of a predominantly Muslim country. A very, very, very unique situation, I think, that they had going on over there.
Interesting stuff. So who's going to replace him?
Well, I think that someone already that is a subordinate has already been named. I'm not sure what the guy's name is.
Let me
offhand.
guess.
I heard it mentioned once
He's
earlier.
a Muslim, isn't he?
I don't know offhand. I'd
a
have to look up
jihadi.
his bio. I would imagine if he was part of Musharraf's cabinet, though, that he's not an extremist.
Sure.
He's probably a former military holdover because Musharraf was a bloodless coup. He was a military general, and that's how he came into power. I believe in 1998.
You would know these things.
Well, he came into power around the time is it King, I guess, of Jordan, King Abdullah.
Oh, King Abdullah, yeah.
When his father died. Incidentally, I think I mentioned it on this program before, but King Abdullah was an extra in an episode of Star Trek Voyager.
Yeah, you told me that. It's just crazy.
And I guess he's that big a fan of American media, American cinema. and
Yes, I
everything
will
that-
be in your show.
Yeah, I'll fly over, spend $75,000, or I don't even know how much a transcontinental flight costs or transatlantic flight costs in a private jet, much less. But yeah,
man.
spend that kind of money so I can be an extra in this
Star Trek.
this UPN television show.
Sure. Oh, my gosh. All right, tonight we've got Matt Bronleewe. We promised it. You got it. Matt, what's going on, man?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
It's going great, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, man, this is going to be a lot of fun.
Well, we loved your last, or at least I can say from personal experience, I loved your last book.
Cool, thank you.
And I haven't got a chance to read the new one yet, so I'm kind of in the dark on it. But
Right.
sorry, the title of this is House of Wolves.
That's correct, yeah, House of Wolves.
And this, I'm assuming, this picks up where Illuminated left off.
Yeah, I mean, the way I like to kind of think of these books, because I'm doing a few of these, all with the main character, August Adams. And while there is going to be definitely some linking and some characters that you'll see from book to book, you really could pick up any of them and jump into the story. So, if you want to read House of Wolves and then go back and read Illuminated later, that's totally cool. Like, it's definitely one of those things where you can jump into the series at any point.
Oh, that's cool. They each stand on their own.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, tell us, is House of Wolves, what's this about? Is this a bunch more of the secret society stuff going on here?
Yeah, I mean, definitely August Adams is my main character, and with every book he's going to probably be dealing with, a different secret society, a different rare book, and that's definitely the key. There's always a rare book that he's going to be dealing with. And in House of Wolves, that rare book that he's dealing with is called The Gospels of Henry the Lion, which is one of the most deadly books in history, as it's been called.
Well, in the first book, for those of you that have read it, he dealt with the Gutenberg Bible stuff.
Yes.
So this is interesting. Tell us about this Henry the Lion gospel.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. The Gutenberg, it was one of those things that the first reason I kind of stumbled onto, wanting to use it as more than just a historical item was finding out that it was worth over $100 million. So, that kind of led me on this little rabbit chase of, like, what other books are out there that are worth millions of dollars?
I'm surprised that there are even any. That's factual. That's not fiction.
Yeah, no, you can find. I think even Time Magazine or somebody else did a report. They're like, if one were to go at the auction block, it would go for over $100 million.
I'm surprised that there are even any that have survived to this day. Because when were they manufactured? In the 15th century?
No, that's
earlier.
Correct. Yeah, and there were only about 200 made then. There's only about 48 in existence now, and that's worldwide. They're so extremely rare. And when people hear the word rare, there are books that there's only one in existence. For instance, there's a book called The Nuremberg Chronicle that really there's only kind of one copy of it, of that one that we call the Nuremberg Chronicle. And so that would be extremely rare. But the desiredness is the other side of the rare,
sure.
When we call something rare in the book world. And so the Gutenberg, because of its enormous worth, is called the most rare book. And yeah, it's like, it seems absolutely crazy that a book could be worth $100 million. But when you think about it, it's like, Gates bought the Leicester Codex for, I think he paid like $20 million or something like that. And they said, it'd be worth like, or maybe it'd be worth $20 million now or something like that. I mean, there's definitely books out there, especially when you're talking, 300-400 years old, that can easily bring millions of dollars.
Wow.
Well, now the significance of the Gutenberg Bible, though, is that it's one of the first on the
printing
movable type press. Yeah. Is that correct?
Yeah, it was the first, and actually, it's been interesting watching the Olympics. They'll talk about how the Chinese were the first to have movable type, and that is one of those things that is highly contested, is where movable type happened first. There's some that contend that the Chinese had it first. There's others that say that the Germans had it first. In any case, and as you see with lots of technologies as they kind of spring up almost worldwide simultaneously, Gutenberg did have movable type, was the first to really make it, very known and to actually start really printing and pressing and selling books that way.
Well, where did you? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, it's all good, man.
Where did you come up with the idea of this other book, the Gospel?
Oh yeah.
I'm sorry, I lost the name. The Gospel of.
It's called The Gospels of Henry the Lion.
Okay, The Gospels of Henry the Lion.
It was, the Gutenberg, in finding out about the Gutenberg where it was worth $100 million, I was like, what are some other books that are out there that are either extremely rare, extremely valuable, extremely deadly, extremely mysterious? What are some other books out there that really could draw people's attention? That would draw my attention.
The Necronomicon. No.
Is that even a real book?
Man. Talk about craziness.
Is that a real book? I've heard it is.
Oh, there's so many different stories about that, and it's like, it's one of those things where you can find all the info you want. But with the Gospels of Henry the Lion, the book was created in 1180 by a guy named Henry the Lion. He was a duke in Germany and was a very powerful guy. Actually, he was known as the Lion for two reasons. One, because he was actually like really powerful and really brutal and really crazy on the battlefield. But it was also a little bit of a jab. Like, he was so over the top and so arrogant and so egotistical that calling him the Lion was also kind of a way to get back at him. This is a guy who, after he went to Jerusalem on a crusade, he came back, and on his journey back was given an actual lion by another king, which he came and brought back to Brunswick Castle or Cathedral and was his pet. So this was a pretty over-the-top guy. Well, in 1180, he created the Gospels of Henry the Lion. And what it was, there were sections taken from the Gospels, from Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And then he had this abbey, this very famous abbey, put together a series of miniatures, all these different paintings, illuminations, pictures that were to depict all the different things going on in the Gospels. But here was the big trick with it all. Within these paintings, he decided to put himself and his wife Matilda. And the way that I've kind of talked about this in modern days is like, let's say that you took a photo that had Oprah and Bono and all these famous people, and then you photoshopped yourself.
I'm in it.
And started by passing it around to friends, and you're like, hey, look at me, like I'm hanging out with Bono, I'm having a great time, and all your friends would look at you and be just like, dude, you are whack, like you completely lost it, you've gone bonkers. Well, think about that to the nth degree. Henry the Lion has now, photoshopped himself in with Christ.
Oh, my gosh.
With all these saints, with all these martyrs, all these people, and basically said, I belong to be with these people. So he was highly controversial at the time.
We were going to Photoshop ourselves into a picture of you. Like, we're hanging out with Matt at the book signing. It was,
It'd bring you, tens of pennies would be given for something like that.
When is I don't mean to shift subjects real quick, but when is your next book signing event? Are you doing those now?
I was in New York last week and did a little running around and just signed some stock and met some people, went around to Barnes & Nobles and different stores and had a lot of fun with it. We're just now, we've been so geared up trying to get things ready for this book launch. It's just come out. House of Wolves has just gotten into stores. We've been so wrapped up with that, we're just now setting up book signings, and so we're really not going to see book signings happening until probably September or even October, probably as we get closer to the end of the year.
Well, where are you going to be in October, man?
October, we're definitely going to do one here in Nashville.
Okay.
I've been asked by a group to do one in Atlanta. Some other people we're talking to in Dallas, in Chicago, and then I'd love to set one up in New York and L.A. too.
I was going to say, we're going to be in Sleepy Hollow, New York this Halloween. It's going to be spooky.
Sleepy Hollow, I like that.
Yeah, we're doing a documentary out there, so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Now, where is that from, Manhattan?
It's about 20 miles outside of the city.
Wow.
But it's still a small town. What's the population, guys? It's really small.
I think it's about 25,000.
I don't think it's that big.
It's a township, so it's.
Yeah, that's true. But we're getting in good with all the guys out there, and we're going to actually do a little documentary and have a good time.
That sounds amazing.
So that's something that's.
Let me know when that happens.
Yeah, well, definitely will. That's why I was asking where he's going to be in October. Just swing on by,
Sleepy Hollow.
Yeah, crazy. Well, look, Matt, we're going to take a break. If you'll hang with us for just a second. You're listening to World of the Unexplained. Tonight's guest, Matthew Bronleewe, and we'll be back in just a second. And we're back on World of the Unexplained. If you'd like to speak with our guest tonight, Matt Bronleewe, you can give us a call here, 877-722-7382. Once again, that number is 877-SCARE-U2, like the band, Scare U2. Always good. Now, Matt, a lot of people don't know that you used to be in the band Jars of Clay.
That's right.
Now, what did you do in that band?
I played guitar and co-wrote the songs.
Okay, so all of the songs or just a majority of them?
Majority. Yeah, I missed out on a few. In fact, I missed out, and this is so crazy, I missed out on writing on Flood, which is like...
Oh, my gosh.
I know, it's like, everybody's like, dude, if there were one song that you should have been a co-writer on, and this is the worst part, like... I heard Steve, the other guitarist, playing it in the bathroom of our dorm, like just kind of jamming away, and I was like, oh, that sounds cool, and then he doesn't bring it back out until after I've left the band.
And you guys, now you guys were a Christian band that crossed over, correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, what school was this at that you guys met?
We all went to Greenville College, which is about 50 miles east of St. Louis. The lead singer, Dan, and Charlie Lowell, who was the keyboard player, we all went to school together there our freshman year and sophomore year. And actually, Charlie was my roommate at college.
Now, are those guys still together?
Yeah. In fact, I know the Jars guys have a show coming up at the Sommet Center here in Nashville really soon. So, yeah, they're still touring, still doing albums, still doing all that stuff. And they have a studio not too far away from mine here in Nashville. And so I see them, occasionally at, like, the local burrito shop.
Now, are you? Did you leave on bad terms, good terms? I mean,
no, it was really good terms. Like it was such a kind of crazy thing. So it was like up until then, all through high school, I was like, man, I want to be a guitarist in a band. And then here the opportunity came up, and I just knew that was not what I was supposed to do. I had a real sense that I was supposed to go on to do something else. And so left music entirely for about a year, and then moved to Nashville. Had gotten married, moved to Nashville, and jumped back into the music scene. And about a year later, produced my first record and got a deal as a songwriter, and have kind of been doing that ever since.
No. Now, I'm going to shift this back into the books now.
Yeah.
I know that you were offering, I believe it was for free, correct me if I'm wrong, a free download, though, from Illuminated, where you'd written a soundtrack to kind of go along with a book. Yeah,
I worked with this really cool programmer guy I knew, and we put together a soundtrack for Illuminated. We've just put together a new soundtrack for House of Wolves.
Okay.
This one's actually going to be, it's 6 tracks, but each of the tracks are like 5, 6, 7 minutes long, so it's actually quite a bit of material. I worked with this really cool programmer guy here in Nashville named Matt Stanfield, and man, we just kind of we thrashed it out. We just talked to how it was going to be, and we really wanted to find this cool mixture of mechanical kind of sounds, like kind of creepy sounds, but then also with this like really warm, organic kind of thing going on too. So, when you listen to it, I think for anybody who likes, electronica kind of stuff, but then also coupled with people who dig, like real soundtrack kind of score-ish kind of stuff, I think you'll like it. So we're just getting ready to put it up at mattbronleewe.com. It should be up within this week sometime.
So this is an audiobook?
No.
Yeah, actually we did a soundtrack, and there's going to be an audiobook available of it too. I've recorded the audiobook myself. There's probably going to be an official one with a real, voiceover guy that's going to come out.
I got you.
In a month or two. But I wanted to do one that was a little bit more, a little more off the wall and just kind of just me. It's I'm not going to be the in a world kind of guy. I just wanted to I wanted to do something for the fans. I wanted to do a version that people didn't have to pay $20 for. I wanted to do a version that anybody could grab. At first they're going to be offering it really just for people who purchased the book. But then really soon it's going to be available for everybody to be able to grab. And we really just want to be able to get the story out there. But it's crazy. There's parts of it where, my little 4-year-old girl, walks in the room and, talks to me. I've left that in there. I had one of my boys, read a section. I had my 7-year-old son, Cole, I actually had him be a bad guy in one scene.
Oh, I bet he loved that.
So he's, reading all these scenes that are I'm going to tear you up. It's it's crazy. It's just having a lot of fun with the story. It's just saying, hey, this is a great thrill ride, and let's all enjoy it together.
That's awesome. I want to get back to this this Duke in Germany, Henry the Lion. Now, this book, this actually exists, like the Gutenberg, I'm assuming.
Yes, yeah. The Gospels of Henry the Lion exist. It's actually in a German library. I believe it's the Herzog August Library, which is funny because my main character's name is August, and it's actually in the August Library.
Now, did you go and see this book as well?
I have not been able to see this book. It's there's been a couple. There's 2 things that are in House of Wolves that I wasn't able to see. That's one of them, and it's only because when I finished the story, I was kind of closing up some of the story and looking, okay, if I go over to Germany at such and such time. Well, it turned out that they only show this book 2 weeks out of the year. It's so rare and delicate, they can only, bring it out into the sunlight, basically, for 2 weeks a year. And I'd completely missed it. They bring it out in, October, and my and my manuscript had to be in by September.
Oh.
So I completely missed that. And the other thing, there's a big portion of the book that happens in Antarctica. And so I was like, great, I'm going to go to the Antarctic. Well, I started looking into that, and it was like, it was going to take, commissioning like a military plane.
Oh my gosh!
It was going to be so hardcore, and I was like, there's no way it's going to happen. So I'm in the midst of writing my next book called The Deadly Hours, which will come out next year. And for this one, I have made sure I'm going to every single location that happens in the book. So I've been running around New York. I ran all over France, and I've been to all these different places. I'm like, it was one of those things in House of Wolves. I really did get a flavor for all those things. I was able to talk to enough experts and read in enough books and go to enough other libraries to get a feel for it. But I really wanted to make sure to, take it to the next level with the next book.
Okay. Now, is this book? You mentioned there was illuminations involved. Is this something like the other one where the clues are in the pictures?
There is an element of that, and but I really tried to, take everything to the next level. I didn't want it to be the same story as Illuminated. I really wanted to ramp things up, and so there's a map involved. I found this actual Nazi map of Antarctica.
Oh, wow.
It's a really creepy map, and actually, it took us a while to figure out how to do this, but we were able to recreate the map in its entirety, and it's actually in the book. Like, when you first open the book, and the end papers, that first little part that you see,
yeah,
we've printed the map in that section. So if you buy the book and open it up, or even if you just, go to a store and, hopefully you'll buy it, but even if you just open it up, there it is. It's like there's this Nazi map. It was created in, I think, the 1930s during a German expedition in the Antarctic.
So this is real.
This is real, and it plays kind of a critical role in the book as well. And this is kind of where all the roads lead together, because what happened is this famous book, The Gospels of Henry the Lion, disappeared during World War II. It was thought to be in like different hands. They had a pretty good idea of where it was. I mean, there's kind of a lineage to the book in terms of who owned it at what time. But during World War II, it suddenly disappeared. I mean, just gone. No record of it anywhere. And then in 1983, it appears at the Sotheby's auction block.
Oh, wow.
Sold for nearly $12 million. And to this day, the person who sold it has never been revealed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
But it gets even crazier, because it's like, I started looking into it. I mean, my big thing was like, okay, what if I crack this? Like, what if I figure out who got it? Like, who got a hold of it? And there's some of that I definitely explore in the book. Like, I firmly believe that the Nazis were the ones who got a hold of this book. And there's tons of evidence that definitely points that direction.
Well,
why they wanted the book and what they were doing with it, that's kind of a whole other matter.
Well, I was going to say that the Nazis, a lot of people talk about all the occult stuff that they were trying to get into during that point in time.
Oh, definitely. All the occult stuff, and that plays a role. I'm sure you guys have talked about or heard about, it's like the Spear of Destiny.
Oh, yeah.
Well, that plays a role, too, because there's actually a picture, there's an illumination in the Gospels of Henry the Lion that shows the spear going into his side. And it's interesting, though, it's very obvious if you look at the picture that it's a spear, but everywhere it's listed as a rod. Like, nobody's actually ever listed it as a spear. But you look at the painting, it's like very clear that it has this metal tip on the end of it. And then there's all these other like really kind of creepy things going on, all these kind of hidden messages and stuff. So I definitely tried to explore that as well.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about some of these secret societies. I'm assuming these are different secret societies in this book than in the previous.
Completely.
And
the one that I dealt with in House of Wolves is called the Black Them. And they were actually a splinter group of a group called the Holy Them. And there's tons of documentation. If you go onto the web, it's VEHM, and you'll find the Holy Them all over the place. The Holy Them is really, and the Black Them in conjunction, this is really the model that all secret societies are kind of based on. You can go all the way back to Charlemagne.
Really?
And this is kind of when this group started. And really they started under a good pretense, kind of. It's like there was, all this craziness in the land and all these things happening that the king couldn't take care of. And so this holy court, this German tribunal starts up. And what they were at first trying to do, they said, okay, we're going to uphold, Moses' laws. We're going to uphold the 10 Commandments, and that'll be our standard. And if people are causing trouble, we're going to bring them in and do something about it. So that's the way things started. Well, scroll ahead a few hundred years up to the time of Henry the Lion in 1180. Now, at that point, things had gotten way out of hand. They would be, they'd bring anybody in for any reason if they just wanted to eliminate them. They just wanted to get rid of them. And this is what was nuts. They would take a person, they'd bring them down into this cave, and all the people of the court would be wearing these black robes. Totally it's just totally the scene we all think about when we think about it like a secret society. It's these guys in black robes standing around, with torchlight. That was the black them. And so they would bring the person forward, and they'd ask them if, they'd committed this crime, and usually this person had no idea what they were even being brought before the court to, what the reason was at all. And then, here's where it gets really nuts, and this is totally true. They'd be forced to go up and kiss this giant golden statue, and sometimes it was a bronze statue, of the Virgin Mary. Now, at that point, the Virgin Mary would open up, and lo and behold, it was actually an Iron Maiden. Oh. But it gets even worse than that. They'd shove them into the Iron Maiden, and they'd release this mechanism on the floor, and the person would be sent down through this series of, rotating spikes that would basically shred them and then put them into this underground river and wash them away.
Well, at least they're being sanitary about the disposal of the bodies.
I'm just getting visions of the end scene.
I'm reading this thing and I'm like, how? This is just, I can just put this out. Forget it. I don't need anything. I'll just put this out and this will be enough. So, I grabbed onto the black them, and they are really the centerpiece. And one of the things that was just great, they had this symbol, the SSGG, that they would put everywhere. And there were all these different explanations for what the SSGG, it was Steichstein, Grasgruen and all this kind of stuff. And, well, what they did, though, is this SSGG would be on all their swords. It'd be on the hilt of their sword whenever they killed somebody. This was something that the German people were very familiar with and very fearful of, is this symbol, the SSGG. So when the Nazis came around, knowing that, it said that Hitler, knowing that the people were already afraid of this symbol, the SSGG, he just wiped away the GG part, and lo and behold, it's the SS was left behind. And again, already the German people had hundreds and hundreds of years of fear built into this, into these symbols.
Well, I believe the SS actually represents victory or death, if I'm not mistaken.
And it's he was able to take the terminology behind it and shift it, and yet still use these symbols that were ingrained into people's heads. So, it's pretty wild. There's tons of evidence that Hitler was able to take a lot of the things that were the cornerstones of the Holy Them and bring them into the Nazi Party. And so as I started discovering those links, it just led to so many other things. And I basically just tied it up in a big old knot and threw it into House of Wolves.
No, there was a movie a couple years ago that came out, probably maybe even a decade ago, for all I know.
Well, the one I was thinking of that conjured images of it was Eyes Wide Shut by Scorsese.
That's not what I was thinking of.
No.
This was a movie, and it had priests in it, and it was a horror film. But there was one scene where I guess his buddy went underground or something, and all these people are in black robes, and they've got these black masks on. And they're down underground, and I cannot think of any of the actors or the name of the film, but it was really odd.
It was a mainstream flick.
I think it got a little. It went out to the theaters in some markets, and it was on DVD at Blockbuster.
Wow.
I would have to look into it.
It's just amazing. It's we have all these kind of vivid images of what we imagine secret societies are like, or what they wear, and all this kind of stuff. And that's what was so interesting to me as I was reading about the Holy Them, is that so many of these things, so many of these pictures, these little scenarios that we envision with secret societies all came and stemmed from the Holy Them from hundreds and hundreds of years ago. So I knew it was just going to be a gold mine of information, and it was. There was just so much to draw from.
Well, my uncle's a 32nd degree Mason. And here locally, and I've been trying to get in that organization for so long but they know what I do. I don't think they would. I want to know what the deal is, man. I'll tell. I'm like all about it.
He'll end up dead in the trunk of your car down by the river next week. Then
then you can say he finally found out. We're about to go on a break. I want to talk about what happened with your last book, and as far as some of the weird, kooky emails you got, and some of the mysterious goings on. I want to know if this happened in this one, but we're gonna bait the listeners with that. But tell us where they can get this book. What's the best place to get it at?
House of Wolves is in any bookstore and also available at Amazon.com.
Okay. Now, can they get it from your site? Get a signed copy or anything special like that?
We will be very shortly setting up something at mattbronleewe.com where I'll be able to send people book plates. They can definitely send me books, and I can send them back signed. We're going to try to get that information out really soon. I believe there's an email at the site, matt@mattbronleewe.com, and info@mattbronleewe.com. Both of those emails come to me and my team, and we can definitely figure that stuff out.
I want to make sure I'm spelling this right. It's Matt, M-A-T-T, Bronleewe, B-R-O-N, is it L-E-E-W-E?
You got it.
Okay, .com. So that's Matt, M-A-T-T, Bronleewe, B-R-O-N-L-E-E-W-E.com. And you can check that out there. Matt, hang tight with us. We're going to take another break here at the top of the hour. You're listening to World of the Unexplained, 877-722-7382. Give us a call. Speak with Matt Bronleewe about the new book, The House of Wolves. And we'll even talk some more about the Gospels of Henry the Lion in a few moments.
All right, we're back here on World of the Unexplained. If you'd like to give us a call, speak with our guest, you may at 877-722-7382. That's 877-722-7382 to speak with author Matt Bronleewe.
Yeah, come on, guys. What's up? Author
I don't see it ringing off the hooks over here, so give us a call, man.
It's dead, man. I'm wondering if the phone lines are working. I really am at this point in time.
Maybe they're scared.
Yeah, I don't know.
Scared of being drug into something crazy.
They don't want anything to do with the secret society stuff. And speaking of which, now I know in the first book you got some strange emails and strange things. Didn't one of them, the guy wanted to meet you somewhere or something like that?
Yeah, we have had some weird stuff. We've had some kind of stalkery kind of people, that kind of stuff going on. I've definitely gotten a couple, just strange out of the blue emails. That kind of thing. It's always, a little bit creepy, and you kind of never know, when you're going places or talking to people, like, especially it's like I'll go to a bookstore and just kind of wander in unannounced, and somebody will be like, hey, I thought you were going to be here. I'm here in advance.
Oh, my gosh.
You're like, oh, hey, how's it going there?
Hey there, psycho. Where's my bodyguard?
Exactly. Well, and now, House of Wolves, in the cover of House of Wolves, it looks like the book has a knife stabbing into the front of it. I mean, it's a really cool thing the publisher came up with. It's a great image, and I actually I was able to have them track down the knife that they used for the photo shoot, and I have that. But now I'm like, man, this is a little creepy too. This like kind of bloodstained knife, on the cover of the book. Like, am I asking for trouble? Probably so.
Well, now have you got it? Did you get any creepy emails or weird messages or any kind of eerie stuff going on from this second book when you were writing it?
There were a couple things. I think kind of the strangest stuff of all actually happened with Sotheby's of anybody. As I was talking to them about the Gospels of Henry the Lion, I kind of hit many different people at many different spots. The New York office, the London office, and was just like, hey, can you tell me more about the Gospel of Henry the Lion? Well, they finally funneled me down to this one girl, and she was like, let me look into it, and I'll get back with you. She gets back to me finally, and she's like, actually, Matt, we have kind of no information about this book at all. She's like, I see that we sold it in 1983, but that's it. Like, that's the end of the record.
Hmm.
Well, I have this section in both Illuminated and House of Wolves called Further Mysteries, and I put together a bunch of stuff about Sotheby's in the new section for House of Wolves in Further Mysteries. And because of a quotation I was using from one of their books, from one of Sotheby's books, we had to go back to them and get permission. So we went to Sotheby's and were inquiring about this, and they said, well, you say in this Further Mystery section that we don't know anything about the book. And I was like, well, yeah, that's what your person told us. And they're like, well, we certainly know everything about all of our books.
Right.
We just couldn't disclose it.
Oh.
And so I'm like, okay, but I have this email. So I actually sent this other lady the email from the first lady saying that they didn't have any information. And she was like, well, she was, mistaken. And I was like, well, then why don't you go ahead and tell me? And she's like, oh, no, we could never disclose that kind of information. So I got into this kind of strange, catch-22 weird thing going on with Sotheby's. I'm like, this is, probably not, this giant institution is probably not who I want on my bad side. So we were able to, clear everything up. But it was very, very odd. I mean, it was made very, known to me that I was not going to get anywhere with information about this book.
Well, you got to be nice to those guys, especially with the series that you're running here. I'm sure there's going to be some more, great rare books that they're going to have something to do with.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there is kind of this strange line that you kind of graze against, where you're really trying. You need information, they can't give it to you. You're trying to get all these little bits and pieces. I think the crazy one, though, I had read online about a guy who actually met some modern-day members of the Holy Them, which is the secret society that I'm dealing with. And I read, his little story, and I was like, there's no way this is true. So I tracked him down. I emailed him, and we actually exchanged lots of really good information. And so I finally, it's just like, listen, you have the story on there. It sounds really creepy. Like, he talks about meeting up with these 4 old guys who had Nazi rings and all this stuff, and we're in this black limo, and I'm like, that's not. I was like, you just wrote that to stir up trouble, and he's like, no. He's like, listen, don't go down that road. He's like, if you go to Germany, if you go to check the stuff out, be very careful. And he went on to kind of tell me that, he'd gone to meet with these people, and he sat down at the table with them, and they have specific ways that they cross their silverware on the table, all these really, kind of Freemason-ish, kind of secret society-ish kind of stuff. And then he actually got in the car with them, and he said they were driving out into the countryside. And he's like, these guys are going to kill me.
Oh my gosh.
And so finally, they let him out, and he, waved goodbye, and that was the end of it. But he actually warned me. He's like, listen, he's like, you really need to be careful. If you go over to Germany and kind of start digging into this stuff, you could get messed up.
Yeah.
So have you investigated any of the secret societies back here in the United States? The one I'm thinking of offhand to ask you is, you ever heard of the Bohemian Grove?
The what is it again?
Bohemian Grove. I believe it's out in California.
No, actually, I've never heard of that.
This is the one that
Alex Jones infiltrated.
Yeah.
In fact, there's another guy that worked for People magazine who wrote an op-ed on it that infiltrated it. It was about a 6 or 8 page piece. But Walter Cronkite happens to be the narrator of their services, I guess, over there.
Well, not only that, I mean, they said some of the ex-presidents, former presidents were there.
Got people on both sides of the aisle too, left and right.
And they were doing some kind of basically some kind of ritual with a burning, a supposed fake burning sacrifice of a body of, I guess, a fake child. Wasn't that it?
Yeah, probably is the old wise owl played by Walter Cronkite narrated the event.
just Google Bohemian Grove sometime and see what you think. It's some really creepy stuff.
Man, I'll check. And it is crazy to me that there's still those factions out there. I mean, what was the one, this Russian doomsday cult or whatever, that they discovered? It's like these people that had barricaded themselves in. I mean, it was like Siberia or somewhere like that, and it's like they'd barricaded themselves inside, thinking that the apocalypse was happening or going to happen, and finally, some kid escaped, and they're found out all these people are starving to death, and it was this apocalyptic kind of cult that had started, and they had their own little secret society kind of going on, and it's wild. I mean, it's I wonder if you kind of went, to every state and to every, under every bed, what skeletons you'd find. It'd probably be a little creepy.
Well, have you researched any of the more mainstream ones? I guess the more socially or culturally acceptable.
Shriners.
Well, no, the one I'm thinking of offhand is the Trilateral Commission.
Yeah.
What have you found out in your research about them?
Well, there are some of those, and I've really been trying to dig around for ones that have strong historical roots. There are ones like that you kind of make you wonder, and there's certain things here and there, but it's really hard to find good historical data that seems real and that seems like can be upheld with multiple sources. I mean, you guys, who knows? It's like maybe you guys have found, you've got, the document in your hands right now, and it's like, watch out. But for now, I've been kind of stressing on, like, trying to find, organizations that have real historical roots.
Sure. Well, we've got a caller for you. This is Ron Paul Hunter from Raleigh. What's going on, Ron?
Hey, guys. How are you doing?
Hey, you sound good tonight.
Hey, thanks. I got a new microphone. It's a new Xbox 360, man. I had to upgrade from the other one that I had.
Okay, cool. Well, what's going on?
Anyway. Oh, not much, man. It's a nice day in Raleigh, kind of hot. We had a lot of things going on. Everybody's moving into NC State and getting ready to go for the school year. So
we definitely need rain, man. I was trying to get my boat out of the slip this last weekend, and the water was so damn low I couldn't even get the boat off the skids. It's real depressing.
You should say that. There's definitely some rain coming this way from the looks of it.
Well, the hurricane that just passed through Florida.
Oh man.
Yeah, well, it's like a tropical storm still, but yeah, it looks like it's headed this way.
Hopefully, it dumps about another foot on
I don't think
the area here.
They still don't know which way that's going, do they? If it's going to come and cut through and then come up to the Carolinas or what? But anyway, what's your question for Matt?
Well, I was going to ask, did any of these secret societies, even in the very ancient days, did they do charity too, or were they just was it all just getting together to keep information secret and maintain situational awareness and stuff like that?
That's really good. I've been finding that a lot of these organizations that have historical roots, and this is maybe what makes it a little different from some of the others that, there's so many kind of conspiracies out there of like, oh, such and such is creating evil. It's always that. It's always like they're trying to take over and trying to, be ruinous and villainous. The interesting thing about, the Holy Them, and in Illuminated, I talked about a group called the Orphans and a group called the Order of the Dragon.
Yeah.
All three of those organizations, and especially the Order of the Dragon and the Holy Them, they were really created to do good things. I mean, they were trying to act as charitable institutions. They were really trying to uphold the law. It's like they started out where they were really trying to make sure that the law was being upheld, and kind of in a vigilante fashion. And then slowly, as their power grew, it just got out of hand. In fact, with the Holy Them, they say that, I think by the end of the 1200s, their numbers had been like 100,000 people, and out of those 100,000, not a single one had ever disclosed that they were in the Holy Them. It was really only through the Journals of Dead Men that they discovered what was going on.
Wow.
And so, kind of coming back to the question, yeah, it's like definitely these organizations seem to start out with really good intentions. What's the phrase? It's like, the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Or whatever. It's like it's really that.
Right. I was going to say that the early church was often in persecution, and thus they had to maintain absolute secrecy just to survive. So there's a lot of organizations that, under some kind of threat, maintain some kind of secrecy in order to just to survive the threat that they're under. But they don't always end up resorting to extreme violence. And usually, sometimes not violence at all. Right?
You're definitely right about that, Matt, though, because a lot of them do seem to begin with the best of intentions. It seems a common thread with a lot of these organizations is, I guess, an attempt to strive for, a stronger brotherhood of men. I guess bond, between men, essentially. Yeah, I don't know. That seems to be the
Chuck. Are you up on your?
No, I've paid off my homosexual
offsets.
Offsets,
okay.
Yeah. But no, it does seem that the Enlightenment, the Masons, it does seem to be a common thread in a lot of these movements, social movements, I guess.
Yeah, I had somebody tell me one time, they're like, "You watch, in 200 years, Homeland Security will be a secret society." I was like, "Whoa!" I hadn't thought of that, like a futuristic secret society, but that comes through the Homeland Security. I was like, man, this person's really thinking ahead.
Watching the Olympics, I got that definite impression looking at some of the places in Beijing where they've had literally thousands of years to sculpt the landscape and decide how they want it to look. And a lot of places in America, I was starting to wonder what would it be like if people lived there continuously, continuous occupation and improvement of the landscape and things like that. There's a lot of room for improvement in America, and I don't know. I just thought that was an interesting point to bring up. Is that a lot of things happen over time. it's not just, secret societies, if they're in our civilization, it can do damage, I guess, at some point. But I think at some point the secrecy is just inherent with the system. Like, whenever you feel like you can't survive any other way but to have private conversations with your friends, that, like, when you talk about Christianity, wherever two people are, Christ is there among them. That's the essence of secrecy in some cases.
Sure. Well, Ron, thank you so much for calling tonight. We appreciate it.
Thank you, buddy.
Yeah, no problem. I wanted to try out my new gear to see if you guys could hear me anyway.
Oh, man, it sounds great. Sounds great.
Call Bill Gates and tell him, job well done.
Yeah, well, I can barely hear you guys, though. It would help if you pumped your audio a little bit, but that's not a big deal.
All right. Well, take care, Ron. We'll talk to you soon.
Okay, Jesus bless you guys.
You too, buddy. All right. Ron Paul Hunter from Raleigh. Always
a good time.
Oh, definitely.
With old Ron Paul.
877-722-7382. That's 1-877-SCARE-U2. That's toll free in the U.S. and Canada. Or locally, 336-996-1596. You can tell we're in the South. 51596. 100. Exactly. But so now, are you a native of Nashville?
I'm not. I'm originally from Kansas.
Okay.
I grew up on a wheat farm in the middle of Kansas, and
Tornado Alley, huh?
I was one of those guys who slung grain around and stuff. So
I thought you were going to say that you were storm chaser as a young man.
I definitely saw my share of tornadoes, all that kind of stuff. And, and creepy, like, abandoned houses and all that kind of stuff, too.
I bet that's an amazing experience there, I'm sure. That's one of my, one of the things that really intrigue me is just the power, and the devastation, at the same time, the beauty of nature and that whole, the whole idea of the tornado.
Not to mention, growing up in Kansas, having seen The Wizard of Oz, I'm sure that's a reality check.
Yeah.
It's funny because I'll talk to people about it now, and they're like, really? That's what happened? Because we'd have tornado drills all the time and have to run down to the locker room and put our heads down, and then finally, like, a few different times, like, we had it happen. And I remember, I think it was like the last day of my junior year of high school, a tornado came right through our area and completely obliterated a ton of homes. And it was actually such a big, such wide devastation that CNN came out and was there for like 2 weeks or something like that, as everybody was kind of picking through the debris. Like, I remember walking through fields, picking up, people's household items that have been just strewn about. And there was actually quite a few people, news reporters, that were picked up by CNN as a result. It was kind of crazy. There was like two people that are now, like, I think they're pretty senior in CNN that actually, came from that kind of event. It was kind of wild, but just absolutely, I saw the stuff that they talk about. I even saw in Mythbusters one time. They were talking about the whole straw in the trees thing.
Right. I was actually about to ask you if you'd ever seen a piece of straw go through a piece of solid hard wood.
They said on the show, no way, like, just can't happen. I've seen it with my own eyes. Like, I saw there was a tree that actually had, and I remember this. It's like I walked up. There was a car up in the branches. There was wire from a telephone pole through it, and there was straw just stuck onto one side, just jammed.
Just peppered it?
But, it's like, Mythbusters says, no way.
Well, I guess it can't be replicated in laboratory conditions.
Oh, yeah, come on.
And it was kind of a funny experiment. And they have like a really high, they've got a big fan and they're tossing straw at it. I'm like, come on, guys. that's not really the
It's
thing.
not to scale.
Yeah, definitely not. Definitely not.
Oh, there was a story. I thought this was the greatest. There was a story. A farmer nearby who, and this is true, had a cow picked up, brought to another field, dropped down, totally fine.
Yeah.
Total, like, flying cow thing.
You hear about the Chihuahuas. Sometimes they'll pick up a Chihuahua and take it 30 miles and drop it over. No, not 30 miles, but yeah.
Well, it'll do the same thing with structures, automobiles.
Sure.
Like he was saying, the automobile picked up, set in a tree.
So, I mean, did that...
all that, like, unexplained phenomena that kind of got me going in the first place. I don't know.
Did that frighten you as a child growing up there?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like anybody who lives in any of those types of circumstances. You just get used to it after a while. And, But I loved watching the storms come in. It was like, you could see them from the distance, and because there was nothing kind of impeding your view, you'd see these huge storm systems come in, and just giant hail sometimes, or like tornadoes, or lightning, and all that kind of stuff. I kind of loved it. I mean, it was kind of thrilling in some ways.
Did you live in a part of Kansas that was, I guess, open enough that you could actually see the contour of the Earth?
It's like you'd look out on the horizon. Yeah, it was just flat. I mean, you could see for miles and miles and miles. In fact, you could see, the only thing that was tall were these grain, right? Were these grain elevators, and so you'd see these big white grain elevators, but they might be, 15, 30 miles out there, that kind of thing.
Wow.
Well, it looks like we're up on our last break, Matt. If you'll hang out with us for another 30 minutes, we'd appreciate it, or at least another 15.
Yeah, that'd be great, man. I'm having a great time.
Okay, awesome. Well, guys, you're listening to World of the Unexplained. We're going to be back here in just a second with Matt Bronleewe. That's mattbronleewe.com. That's BRONLEEWE.com. And just give us a call here, 877-722-7382, 877-SCARE-YOU2. We'll be right back in a moment.
You are listening to World of the Unexplained. If you'd like to give us a call, speak with author Matt Bronleewe. You may at 877-722-7382. That's 877-SCARE-YOU2.
Boo. So, Matt, over the break, we had talked a little bit about a trip you and your wife went on to France. You poor devil. And, I guess in research for your next book, the next one, which I know is really a little premature to talk about, but it's called The Deadly Hours?
Yeah, it's called The Deadly Hours. And, the thing that's so fun about this series is that it all revolves around this main character, August Adams. And, like I said before, people can jump into the story at any point. It's kind of like Indiana Jones. It's like if you watched The Last Crusade first, you could still go back and watch, Raiders of the Lost Ark later. And maybe, you'd pick something up from that maybe you would have missed. But you can still have a good time wherever you are in the chronology. So it's definitely been kind of like that.
Okay, well, I kind of like Temple of Doom. A lot of people give me a hard time about that. But I really enjoy it.
It was the first one I saw myself, man, so I guess I have a certain amount of nostalgia for it, but, yeah, at least out of the original three, it was always my least favorite.
Oh, yeah, well, I saw
no Nazis.
I saw it at the theater. I was a kid. I guess I was, 10, 11, 12, something like that. I don't remember. But, yeah, that was the first one I'd seen.
I'll have to say, though, now that we bring up Indiana Jones, that the latest one impressed me a whole lot more than I thought. Then again, I went into the theater with very low expectations.
That's probably because you'd heard me talk about it.
Yeah, I'm sure that's the reason.
Have you seen the latest Indiana Jones film, Matt?
The new one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I was really unprepared for that it was going to be so kind of, I don't know if I should say exactly what it's all about and everything, but that it was so revealing of everything. It was just like, I was like, wow. I thought it would be a little bit more kind of guarded or hidden or something like that, or a little bit more kind of creepy. And in fact, somebody was telling me that the actual, true stories about these crystal skulls is a lot more interesting than what they did in Indiana Jones.
Yeah, we had a guest on, a couple of weeks ago that was talking about the actual true stuff behind that, and he said it seemed a lot more interesting anyway.
Yeah, I mean, and it seems like that's so many times the case. I mean, I really encourage anybody who reads Illuminated and House of Wolves to really check out the behind the scenes, because I mean, I've got to be honest, it's like as much as I can kind of dream up and come up with, I always feel like the actual stories about these true organizations, these real secret societies, in some ways is far more fascinating.
Well, but before I get into some of the characters, I wanted to ask you, as far as the research that goes into this, how much of this time do you spend actually researching before you start to write?
I've been really trying to kind of ramp that up more and more every time. I think with Illuminated, it was almost simultaneous. It's like as information was coming in, I was having to, and I was really, learning the process of how to write. I mean, it's like I really had to grow as a writer in front of people's eyes. And so that's been kind of tricky. I think through the process, I've been able to put a little bit more of a buffer there. Right now, I already have 5, 6, 7 different August Adams adventures kind of in my head. and I'm already starting to kind of gather information about those. And, right now I'm only planning on rolling out one per year, and so that's really giving me a lot more time to gather information. So again, it was really tricky with Illuminated, a little less so with House of Wolves, and it's been really great that with this next one, The Deadly Hours, I've been able to start gathering information from, really when I was doing Illuminated, I started thinking about The Deadly Hours and what was going to go into that. So I've had about 3 years to be thinking about all the different ideas and characters that were going to be a part of it.
Well, I think we talked a little bit about your current book, The House of Wolves, last time we had you on for Illuminated. Are there any movie deals in the works here that we need to know about, or can you even talk about that if that's even on the table or even talked about?
We've got some people running around Hollywood right now, and actually the Indiana Jones thing has been really great. It's really showed that people have an interest in that type of franchise. And the other thing, too, is the whole National Treasure series. That's been another thing that's really just kind of thrown the spotlight on this type of series and kind of shown that it can work. For me, we're really trying to find the right people to pair with at the right time. Because I'm doing a series, although I'd love to come out with a movie as soon as possible, I'd really like to do it right. And so if that's not right now, if that's 3 books down the road, then that's okay with me, because I figured there'll be that many more people that'll be interested in August Adams and his adventures. And I just really want to make sure that I feel like eventually the time will come for August Adams to jump to the silver screen, and I just want to make sure when we do it that it's in the biggest way possible.
Well, you got I'm sorry, Chuck.
Oh, that's all good.
Well, when you see stuff like The Librarian?
I'm not even familiar with that flick.
Are you familiar with that, Matt?
Yeah, that was the one with Noah Wiley.
Okay, I don't know the actors in it, but when you see a film like that and then you read Illuminated and you're like, come on, man, this stuff's 10 times, 12 times better than that. I mean, really. And
I appreciate that, and it's like, and we've actually, to be quite frank, we've already turned down a number of deals. It's like we've had a few people approach us, and we just haven't felt like it's been big enough yet. I mean, we really want to walk out in a big fashion when we do it, and we're willing to kind of wait for the right opportunity to come around.
Well, when it does come around, I've got a great idea for casting for your protagonist.
Oh, who's that?
Guaranteed to make you, millions at the box office. Shia LaBeouf. Everything he's in seems to just turn to gold.
Yeah. Now, did he like lose part of a finger?
Yeah, actually, he was in I believe a DUI a week or two ago, and it's not too funny actually. And he wasn't even driving the automobile. I guess he has hand partially out of the automobile.
That's what they all tell you. No,
well, they weren't driving.
I wasn't driving, man.
But yeah, he had his hand partially out of the automobile. I guess it flipped several times, and he had part of his hand mangled. I guess they're gonna have to write that into the next Transformers sequel.
Oh, jeez. Yeah, I mean, it's so crazy. I was like, well, at least it's a CGI movie. I guess they could do whatever they want to, really.
But, speaking of Indiana Jones before, he was in that as well. I don't know how they're going to write that into the sequels for those, because from what I had heard, Harrison Ford has signed up to do a cameo in the next film.
Wow. That would be exciting.
No, it definitely would. I wonder where they're going to go from the Crystal Skulls.
I was disappointed with it, honestly.
Oh, well, see, I was saying earlier, I went into it with such low expectations that I was thoroughly impressed. I didn't think that it was. I didn't think it was going to look that good either. The continuity with a lot of the action scenes was awesome.
I guess part of the thing that bothered me is you have this whole thing with the Ark and everything, from the Raiders, and it's supposedly in the same storehouse with this alien stuff, and like it ain't. It's just kind of sitting there hanging out. It ain't doing nothing. And this alien, come on, give me a break. Give me a break.
You've never been to Area 51, man. How do you know?
Well, I know you've been to Area 51.
Yes, I have.
Didn't the black SUVs chase you away?
No. I bought a map so that I wouldn't have the black SUVs chase me away.
Well, good point. But crazy. But I do want to talk a little bit about some of the characters in your book. I know there's August Adams, which is your main protagonist. His son is in it, and I guess his former wife. They seem to have him and the wife anyway. The former wife. Seem to have come to some sort of understanding at the end of the last book, where it looks like there may be a little bit of a rekindling of the old flame. What's going to happen in the second one, or how much of that can you give away?
Well, it's one of those things. People right after Illuminated came out, that was one of the things that a lot of people asked me right away. They're like, are August and April going to get back together? You know, are they together at this point? Like, are they going to get remarried, or what's going to happen? And I'm like, okay, wouldn't that kind of ruin the tension? I don't know. I was like, it just seemed to me like one of those things. I was like, you know, with and you know, with the Ross Rachel Friends thing, or like, you know, I mean, they found a way for the couple to kind of get together on The Office. You know, it looked like, but then it looks like maybe this next season there might be a little craziness with that. I'm like, any relationship thing like that. You know, I think the old adage is like what? It's like keep them as far away from each other as you can for as long as you can.
Well, you got to have that tension that builds up. Otherwise, pardon the euphemism I'm going to use here, but you shoot your wad too early.
Right.
Well, I mean, you know, it's like, I don't know if you guys were ever a fan of the Moonlighting series with Bruce Willis and Sybil Shepherd.
Right.
But, I mean, I was a big fan of that growing up, and, you know, that's what they did the whole time. They kept that tension built, you know, and you never knew what was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, and I wanted to ramp that up. So at the beginning of House of Wolves, April actually gets engaged to another guy.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. No, it gets going completely. And so that gets totally roped into another adventure.
Oh, my gosh. Oh, well, I can't wait to read this thing. We're gonna have you back on as soon as I've had a chance and to read your book and pass it around.
Well, maybe
to the
we
guys.
can get some of these soundtracks too. That you know, maybe we can play for the listeners.
If you would give us permission, we'd love to play this stuff during some of our breaks. And we'll, you know, I don't like the RIAA, but I mean, if we can get permission directly from you, we could definitely roll some of that out for some people.
No, it's actually no problem. You know, I made sure actually with this next soundtrack. It's going to be free and clear. I mean, I wanted to make sure that with it that people could get it, play it anywhere they want, pass it all over the place. So we'll get a copy in your hands. You can play it, you know, as much as you want.
Oh, that'll be awesome. We'll play the heck out of you. We really will. We're really bad about that. We just overplay. We do. We overplay like every artist that we get. It's to the point where it sickens some of our listeners.
That's heavy rotation. That's what it's.
Heavy rotation.
That's a euphemism we're going to use for it, right? At least it's used in broadcasting.
Well, Matt, I'm gonna give you the last word once I give your website here, www.mattbronleewe.com. And for those of you that need some help on the spelling, like myself, it would be BRONLEEWE.com, mattbronleewe.com. You can check that out. You can is the first soundtrack from Illuminated still available on that site?
You know, I think it is. We're actually, there's been a complete redesign of mattbronleewe.com. We're kind of in the midst of still posting all those different things. So I believe, I don't know if it is this moment, but in the next few weeks, everything should be available.
Okay, great. So we'll have 2 good soundtracks, 2 good books. What more can you guys ask for? Get out to Amazon.com. When's your next, you don't have a book signing schedule yet, I'm assuming?
Not quite yet, but we're definitely going to, you know, as those things happen, we'll post it to mattbronleewe.com. And you know, I love people to join me on Facebook and MySpace as well.
Okay, what's your MySpace?
It's actually just Matt Bronleewe, and on Facebook, people can just find me at Matt Bronleewe.
Oh, that works out.
That's convenient enough.
I'll let you have these last few moments, Matt, and spill it out.
Well, I guess, you know, Bronleewe is a tricky last name, but the thriller is really straightforward. It's like for anybody that wants to have a really good time and dig into something that's got a little bit of history and a lot of great thrills, House of Wolves is definitely for you. And it's available right now at Amazon.com and every bookstore in America.
Okay. Short, sweet, and to the point.
So Bronleewe, is that French or is that German?
It's Dutch, but, you know,
okay.
I saw all the girls growing up that was French because that sounded...
Of course.
Bronleewe.
I don't blame you.
We were just actually talking when the show began earlier a couple hours ago. Chuck was saying, you know, well, I could do my bad French accent. What were we talking about?
Oh, that I'm not gonna French it up, I guess, too much because I only have one French impression. It's ha ha. There's only so far that's going to take us.
That's true. That's very true.
And let me tell you, that doesn't get you very far in France either.
No, I'm sure.
Oh my God.
Gets your beverage spat in.
So now when you were in France, did you guys go to the Louvre?
We did. We went there. We went to Musée d'Orsay. I also got to see these hundreds-of-year-old French chateaux on top of mountain peaks. I mean, unbelievable stuff. It's all going to be in the next book, too.
Oh, wow. I bet you got some gorgeous pictures.
Amazing stuff.
Awesome.
I bet J.K. Rowling doesn't do stuff like this.
I bet you're probably right. All right, Matt, thank you so much. It's been such a pleasure having you back on the show, and we'll definitely have to have you back again soon. We've had a great time.
Anytime. Thank you so much.
All right, take care.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
And that was Matt Bronleewe, mattbronleewe.com. Let me spell that out again for you guys. mattbronleewe.com. And you can check out his latest book from the August to Adams series, and that would be, I'm looking for the name, House of Wolves. Thank you. I've got all these notes here, Gospels of Henry the Lion.
You didn't have so many doodles on that thing, though. You might be able to make them out.
Well, yeah, that's true. I like to doodle when I interview people for some reason. I used to not do it at all, but now I do it all the time. But anyway, check that out. Go to Amazon.com, go to MattBronleewe.com, check it out, get the free download of put it on your iPod, man. Take it with you in the car, listen to it,
Check out his Facebook.
Yeah, check out Facebook, check out the MySpace. Good stuff. And here comes the music. You know what that means?
It's that time.
It is that time.
Unfortunately.
So, Chuck, what's your prediction now? Barack Obama or Mr. McCain?
No, it's even Steven right now, man. They're neck and neck.
I know. I don't know. I don't know what to tell you from past elections. Who do you think's going to take it?
Like I said, it's a toss-up. It appears to be advantage McCain for now, but Obama's his convention's coming up here about 7-10 days. He's going to pick a vice president, I would imagine, this week, or vice presidential nominee.
Is John McCain hadn't picked one yet?
No, neither of them have.
I didn't think so. They need to do that
but
soon.
the both of them will be doing it here shortly. So
they need to jump on that.
Yes, it is still August. We've still got about another 75 days or so till.
I was going to say, man, November ain't long.
We've still got. I mean, there are three pivotal points in any campagn. there's the convention.
Dude,
there's the
have
vice
time.
Presidential pick, and then there's the debates. Those are the three tests of a.
You've got to have time
presidential
to
candidate.
You've got to have time to print bumper stickers and yard signs. That's all I got to say, and get them out there. Anyway, this is Jay Scott, your only JD DJ on the Omni Sound Radio 1 network.
And this is Chuck Browner dropping science at you at 64,000 kilobytes per second. See you guys next week.
See you guys.